We're on. Okay, good evening. Welcome to the November 20th Budget Committee meeting. The first thing we're going to do is go over the minutes from the previous meeting of November 13th. Anybody else need any more time to take a look at that, or anybody want to make a motion?
Second it.
We have a motion by Wayne to accept the minutes as written, seconded. And any other discussion on it? Is it Eric, you second?
Yep.
Okay, we'll call the vote. It's all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Abstain, I was at the meeting.
We had abstained from Jane. Okay, Stan. Okay, the next thing we have is new beginnings. Here we go.
Come on up. You're welcome.
Okay. Well, thanks for sending everything in to us. We got everything on time. That helps. Scheduling you and coming down to meet with us tonight. We have a few new members. You were here last year.
No, I was not. I'm Cindy Balint. This is my first time here.
Oh, okay. Welcome.
Kathy Kelleher maybe was here last year.
Probably, yep, I recognize that name. So we can go around and introduce ourselves. The selectmen are also participating in this so that you wouldn't have to go twice.
Thank you.
So we all work together on it, and they'll probably, I'm not sure, they might have some questions as well. And we'll introduce ourselves.
Daniel Brown.
Stan?
Eric Pyra.
Wayne Brock.
And I'm John Scanlon.
Jane Halden.
John Bossy.
Catherine Wilson.
We have Sandy Plessner and Pat Constantino, and of course you've probably corresponded with Johanna a few times.
B-A-L-I-N-T.
Okay. Well, just first, some of the people may not be familiar, maybe you can briefly go over what new beginnings means to Tilton and the community.
The agency provides 24-hour crisis line service to victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. We provide shelter, emergency shelter for victims of domestic violence. We've got 3 bedrooms, and most of the time they're full. Court advocacy, if anybody needs a emergency restraining order, we'll send an advocate with them to kind of help them through that legal process. Hospital visits, if we get a call from the hospital saying that there's somebody there who's been sexually assaulted or battered, we'll go and meet with them, offer them shelter, whatever resources we can give them. We go into the schools, this is, I think, the biggest thing, is we go into the school systems, and we talk about bullying. There's a bunch of different programs, date rape, stalking, try to get the kids at the elementary level to learn good relationships, even if at home, if they happen to be come from a home who has domestic violence in it. Try to teach them how to communicate with their parents and try to diffuse situations if possible. It's not always possible for young kids to do that. But, we have group programs at the shelter for children and adults. So a whole myriad of services.
Now, New Beginnings serves what communities?
All of Belknap County.
All of Belknap County. And sometimes do other communities or outside Belknap County also use some of the services if they're overfilled or?
Usually it's not an overfilled situation. Usually it's a safety situation where the person is not safe in their community, so they'll come to our shelter.
And you
We
do
do
the
the same thing, absolutely.
So you're looking for a 2% increase to 1,530. Interesting figure. Then you have increased the numbers of individuals that you're seeing. 22 individuals, you're dealing with 2 schools, so 5 businesses.
5 or 6, yeah.
I think it's 6, Wayne.
It's right on the line.
Oh, you have something different than I have.
Yeah, that was the application that,
Yeah, okay. 3 schools, 8 businesses.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
do that.
And that's up from last year?
I think the businesses are the same. The schools usually stay pretty much the same. It's just the clients that we see usually increase, and there's usually more of an increase in this type of an environment where funds are being cut from other social services, and they end up sometimes on our doorsteps.
Are the stays at your safe houses or shelters from the old school, safe
That's
houses? Have they increased or decreased in length?
Increased.
Increased in length? So you're seeing a longer turnaround period?
Sometimes 3 months.
Okay. Created by the courts or just by the system or just?
I think
no
just by the
service?
system. It's probably a mix. I don't really have those stats to speak about, but, and more younger mothers with children.
What other towns contribute? The town?
I think the only one that doesn't contribute right now is Barnstead. I believe they're the only ones that have chosen not to support us at this point. And they're probably the ones that receive the least amount of services from us.
Based upon the different communities, where does Tilton lie in that continuum?
Certainly Laconia is the highest. I would say you are right in line with Samberton. It would be Laconia or Guilford. I don't have the stats memorized. Probably Meredith would be next, just by population.
anybody else have any?
When you say that you have 6 businesses, does that mean you had to respond to a case at a business, or?
It could be just that they advocate for us. So it could be that they have us come in and talk about workplace violence.
Which 2 schools do you go to in Tilton?
Winnisquam for sure. We do go to the Tilton Prep School. I know that they're a private school and they don't receive town funding, but we hope that our presence there would certainly cut down on the amount of police.
Which schools in the Winnisquam district do you go to? All of them? or-
We would certainly go to all if they asked us. I know that we're active in the middle school. I'm not sure about the elementary schools.
And, the high school?
The high school and the middle school, yes. I know we're active there. I can find out about the elementary schools if you'd like.
And you don't receive any funding from the school district?
That's correct.
How active are you in the schools, exactly? I mean, what are you doing, presenting programs?
There's a statewide program that we present, and I don't know all the particulars. I'm a volunteer, not a staff member, so I'm a little bit weak on the curriculum. But I know that the students are tested prior to receiving the program, and then they're tested after to see just to find out what their belief systems are on bullying, on date rape, on
So is this in a
stalking.
classroom setting?
It's a classroom setting. And we're working on other programs to kind of help that. And also, the board this year is going to be getting a little bit more involved to find out, to communicate with the schools and find out how are they receiving the programs, is there something that they'd like to see that we're not providing, those types of things.
Because I think we use the systems program. I know they have a bullying. That's interesting.
That might be in the elementary school, but
Do you interface at all with the school resource officer?
I can find that out. I can't answer that honestly. I'm sure that if we were called, we would certainly respond.
Because we provide the school resource officer, or they pay for him, but we provide the officer. It would appear he would be one of those people that would be good for doing bullying classes and date rape classes as a co-facilitator in that kind of group. So it'd be interesting to see if the school is interested in meshing that together.
We do work with all of the police departments within Belknap County to offer them training on how to respond to domestic violence. It's a whole initiative that's going on to establish protocols so that everybody kind of reacts the same way. And it's a dynamic.
And where my focus is, if the school resource officer, his perception and view of domestic violence and bullying would probably be a little different from being on the street.
True.
And focusing more on that kind of situation. Thank you.
The amount that you ask for, is that the same for all the towns, do you know, or is there a formula for that?
I cannot answer that honestly, but I can get that
Curious,
information to you. We typically don't ask for a lot from the towns. We use the money that we get from the towns as a assistance for getting grants, federal, because we have to show that the towns are supporting us in order to receive grant money.
Yeah, it looks like you'd say 10% compared to federal, and approximately 10%, and approximately only half of what state would pay. Towns, all the towns, for their budget. How many employees?
We have 2 full-time employees and a handful of part-time employees who range from 30 hours a week to maybe 5 hours a week. Volunteers fluctuate, and not all volunteers are in the office. We have a lot of volunteers who strictly man the crisis line. They carry a pager around with them, they get a call, they respond to the call, depending on, sometimes it might just be somebody who's lonely and wants to talk. It might be somebody who's in a battering situation, is looking for a safety plan to get out of, to help get out. We'll help that individual do some safety planning. Some of them do come into the office, not always. We're dependent more upon them now than we have in the past to help support the office, because we did have to lay one individual off last year because of funding cuts.
Okay. Pat or Sandy, or? Okay.
Thanks for the good work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Great
Did you want me to get back to you with the formula?
It seems like, is it the same amount from all the towns, I think?
Well, it just has a gross amount of $16,000 for towns, 36,000 for
Yeah.
state
I don't-
and 150
Yeah.
for federal, so I just went rough numbers.
We can get that information for
I
you.
think we're all set, unless anybody else is interested.
Yeah.
And did you want me to find out more about the resource officer?
No, it was just one of those, throw an idea out
Yeah.
that you may want to think about for the
sure.
next year.
I
Great.
think he's also helping some of us, the new guys, to ask questions we don't know to
That's-
ask.
that's fine.
Get a better idea of what you do and how you do it.
Sure. And if you have any,
Most of the questions I'm looking for is, again, it may be something that you may want to think about, because we do have a resource over there, a school resource officer that we're paying, that we are providing, they're paying for, but we're providing the body, and he's a very good person. So you may want to think about interacting or interfacing with him.
Sure,
Good Bill
great.
Patton.
Look at his job description and see what you're in it for classes,
he probably has his
That's a
hands full.
debate for another day. Believe me.
teaching. It's in there.
Okay, well, thank you
Well,
very much.
thank you, thanks for coming.
I do, I agree, but how it gets enforced is a totally different other idea.
Thank you.
Especially when lunchroom duty calls. My major irritation for $80,000.
Okay, we have, about at least 15 minutes before youth assistance shows up. If anybody wants to, we could vote on some of these things. We've got a few things that are open.
May I interject two pieces of information, sir? Hopefully everyone got the email from the Pines. There was material that he clarified on families, okay? The other piece is I contacted Winnie Transit, did not get any reply at this point in time in regards to the questions that were asked in regards to where it's going. The third part was I managed to get over to the VNA yesterday during the open house. Met with some of the members of the board of directors and the staff over there. We had a very interesting discussion over finances and money and their appreciation for what we've been doing for them in regards to that as they're becoming tougher times. And they gave us a nice little tidbit, because one of the people that was speaking there yesterday is actually the coordinator, let's see, what's her title? She's actually the patient navigator for the insurance marketplace, health insurance marketplace, and she's out of the Health First Family Care Center. She takes everybody, anyone that's got a question at all, you give her a call, and her name is Donna Toomey. And she will not only help you get through the system, but she will also give you the advice on what to do and what not to do. And these materials here that I'll leave, we can probably give them to Heather. So if people are having problems going through that, they can deal with this person who is good at it.
Excellent, thanks,
All the
Mike.
VNAs with that, right?
What's that?
Donna Toomey is at the VNA.
No, she is at Health First. We'll give you the whole packet, because I need to bring stuff.
Thank you.
You can make copies, and Heather,
Wonderful.
there you go.
New beginnings, I don't know if anybody wants to vote on that, or
Should we vote?
we need to discuss it anything.
Mr. Chairman, should we vote while we have someone here?
We can do that.
Okay.
You can step outside.
No, you're more than welcome.
It's not non-public.
Make a
Yep.
motion to fund New Beginnings. The request is known as $1,530.
Yep.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second to fund New Beginnings for the requested amount, $1,530. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we fund the Hall Memorial Library for, as soon as I can find it here.
$122,200.
Go ahead, sir.
$122,200.
Okay, so we have a motion to fund Hall Memorial Library for $122,200.
And weren't they going to get back to us on some of the information that seemed to be conflicting?
Yes, the reports from 2012
Didn't jive.
didn't jive with the 2013 financials.
So we could approve it now and amend it later if they come back with a different figure.
Or we can,
Yes.
Or we can-
or we can wait.
I can do either way.
Well, we don't have a second, so I guess, what?
We had discussion.
Okay, so what we'll do is no, we're waiting either a second or we can just move on without having a second.
Well, I'll make a second. That was my discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to fund the Hall Memorial Library for the amount that they requested. And under discussion,
I would vote to approve, but then to re-examine if the figures are not what they are or need to be drastically changed, and make the appropriate amendment prior to the public hearing.
okay, so we're approving it, but we'll bring it up.
Approving it conditionally.
I'm good either way.
Okay, any other discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. 122-2. Okay.
Franklin B&A, we haven't approved, have we?
Yes, we did.
We did?
Jesus, recreation use assistance, my beginnings is 530.
Did we ever hear from Jones's Behavioral Health? I know they're not coming until the 4th, but usually we get correspondence from them.
Oh, they're coming in the fall.
The 4th.
Just that they're going to show up. Okay. Well, what we can do is, we've got the youth assistance program here already, so we can, if you guys are ready, I'd love to hear from you.
Mr.
Come on
Chairman,
down.
I will need to recuse myself from this hearing. I'm a member of the Board of Directors,
Okay,
and I will go sit on the other side.
okay. You can
sit there,
You can sit up here if you want to. Okay.
Have a seat.
Grab a chair.
You can come around, you can sit in the main spot, I'm sure you wouldn't mind.
Keep it warm.
I'll start by introducing myself. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dawn Schimberg, and I'm the director of the Youth Assistance Program. On my far right is Sheriff Hilliard, who has been the chairman of our board for, you were right, it's been since 1995. You are
95.
right.
I didn't know you were that old, Scott.
And here with us today is Billy Chavanel, and he's here to kind of give a little different perspective on the program, someone who actually has used some of the services.
And what was your name? I didn't catch your name.
Because I was talking real fast. Dawn
Dawn.
Schimberg.
Dawn Schimberg.
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman, you'll note that we were very prompt and early this year.
Oh, that's fine.
I wasn't trying to bring that up.
Last year, Billy, we...
And you did not shoot anyone on the way in. No blue lights and nobody got shot, so we're in good shape.
How many
You had
emails?
dinner early, right?
Reminders.
You were not having Chinese food tonight?
Oh, he was at the green side last year.
Would you like me to start
Sure.
just by a little overview of the program? The Youth Assistance Program is a juvenile court diversion program that's how it began in 1975. And its goal, and it's still one of its primary goals, is to help young people who don't really need the attention of the court system, but who have committed a juvenile offense, to make amends, to be accountable, and to learn and move on without having to go to court. And the thought, not only was that better for the young person in the community, but also it saved money. As the years continued along, we've branched out. We do a lot of prevention work, and we do support programs. So I do spend some of my time doing outreach and prevention in the schools. I meet with all of the classes, and so the young people are familiar with the program, and we help help them to kind of build those resources that may help them steer clear of problems. So I still do quite a bit of that. We have an early intervention drug and alcohol program. We do tobacco education, anger management. Our anger management is also violence prevention, so we focus a lot on what we all can do to help decrease the incidences of violence in our community. And I'm there to support young people and parents. So any Tilton and Northfield young person can come through the door and get services. The only program that we ask a fee is our drug and alcohol program. The fee is $50 for residents, and it's $150 for people who live out of town. If we have room, we will accept an out-of-town referral. So that's it in a quick nutshell. Oh, and I do have brochures. I don't know if any of you have seen, these are our new brochures. Would you
More
like one?
user-friendly.
Yeah. I think some of you may have come across them. I think you may have
I think I've seen
I think you may have seen these.
Save me.
Thank you.
Here, we got that. Someone else got those. Here.
Where are you located now?
We are still on Main Street. We're at 291. We're right between Gabriel's and Mr. Mansfield's bookstore.
Oh, okay.
And we've been there almost 3 years now.
3 years?
I think going on.
So you can get your reading material, your counseling, and your massage all in one stop.
There you go.
Does that sound nice?
Yeah, it's nice.
on the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There you
To
go.
complete everything, yeah. And it's great that you're still able to find a place that's accessible for so many people.
Works well for us.
Speaking as a member from the board, not as the budget committee, could you kind of elaborate on that you actually came in under budget this year, and the reason that there's an increase in the budget was that you're finally getting from the board of directors a pay increase of 2.5%, and you have not had a pay raise for...
I think I did, when I first became director, I think I had a small increase.
1%.
And that's been how long?
Well, I think that's been like 2, has it been that long?
So with the actual budget that you presented was a few dollars over what you asked for last time. And just to let people know that the actual budget itself came in under cost. But the board of directors said, yeah, it's time to make sure that you can actually live, and presented, it was a 2.5% raise.
And as the committee knows, Don is now the recruiting. And so we really never got a chance because of the economic times and fiscal issues with everybody. We really never got an opportunity to show her some sort of an increase that the board feels is really very fair and conservative as well. So, thank you for
Yeah, and would you also talk about the fact that we've actually integrated a tree of services where a person comes in and gets referred or not referred, and how that was created?
Yes, actually, we've been working and collaborating, of course, with the referral sources, which would include the juvenile probation officers, where we get many referrals from them. Before the young person is adjudicated, the judge may refer them to youth assistance program and does. The police chiefs and the school personnel. So we've been working together, and we have, this is what you're speaking of, we've developed a flow chart, and this is really to help people see how a young person goes through the program and how they're held accountable. This side is more of the prevention. Also on this side is included school referrals that sometimes are part of a disciplinary action at school. However, there's not been an arrest. Okay, and on this, and also police refer frequently for services where there's been no arrest. They may want the young person to do something And it may just be for assistance. And then this side is where there's been an arrest, and the police can refer directly to youth assistance, or the police can take it to court, and the judge can refer it to youth assistance program. And of course, the goal still being the least amount of intervention, but with the most power that can be.
What
And I
happened?
have copies. I don't want to give you all a ton of paper, but you're welcome to.
I think it would be good information for people to have.
Yeah.
Just so everybody understands where the referrals come from, because
That was actually my first question, is how do people know about youth assistance?
I have.
Is it court orders? Is it through schools? How would someone know that?
All of it. It'll be all of those ways, and so the schools, I get a lot, here, I'm going to actually have them all to you. I get a lot of referrals, especially from the middle school, and some from the high school as well, that are for support services. And so both the vice principal of the middle school and the vice principal of the high school are board members, so they're very involved with the youth assistance program. And so I do get a lot of referrals from the schools, of course from the police departments and the court. We have a website which still feels, I mean, we've had it for a year, but it's still, I'm pretty excited about it still. And we are tied, I know, we're tied in with the towns. And more importantly, we're tied in with the police department. Because I think when a parent is up late at night and, feels, very frustrated or is dealing with a problem, that you might first go to the police department website before the town.
And as you're seeing, that document was created by a meeting of the minds, which included Bill Patton, who was the school resource officer, the detectives from Tilton PD were there, a detective from Northfield PD was also there, the chief was there, the school was represented by the vice principals. So as we sat down and looked at the process of how we're going to make the referrals, because we're having an issue on what constituted a court referral, which constituted an administrative referral, everyone sat down and hashed that out. Justice Kelly is very good about this. He's done some really good work around that, continues to do good work. Hopefully now that we got some funding back with CHINS, we'll be seeing some... We got some back from CHINS petition, That means CHINS is kind of risen back up, which is nice, because that's another alternative now for people coming in. So the program itself is integrating the schools, the school resource officers, the detectives. Those are the frontline people that are creating the program that we are providing the services for.
What's happening with Somerton?
There was a hand.
That was one of the questions. Go ahead.
I've heard it a couple of minutes. What is CHINS?
Child in Need of
Child in
Services.
Need of Services.
Okay.
Is that federal?
Is that, and what is, okay, but that's what it stands for, but what is it? I don't know what it is.
It's a category under the juvenile code that existed for many years that helped give services to kids who were doing risky things that were not offenses if you were an adult. So a typical one would be running away. Okay, so it would be a juvenile status of that. And youth assistance program, we do work with juvenile offenses. We still get referrals for truancy. However, it has been unfunded, defunded, eliminated. Okay, and it was taken out, and there were no funds to serve those children for the last couple of years. And so, basically, if a child was truant from school, it was kind of like, oh wow.
It was a tool that a district court judge could use. Instead of adjudicating someone with a criminal record, you could say to the child, you need services, you need counseling, you need drug therapy, whatever it is, you're a child in need of services. Boom. And then when you've completed that, it goes away, we go on to the next step. So the child doesn't have a juvenile record. A lot of judges will use that in nonviolent misdemeanors.
And it was used very frequently.
Yes,
It was a very meaningful program.
sure was.
Yeah. So that's one of the crazy parts of the system, is that they left the law and took the money away.
Right. Part of our marketing, so that you know, is reaching out to parents too, because the police know, and the school knows, which are a fair share of Dawn's referrals, but parents can refer, parents can reach out. So the website that Dawn talked about, we're kind of excited about, for those people who have that ability. Frustrated parents sometimes go searching for missions to try to help in our brochure. So we're trying, it's tough because a lot of what Dawn does has to be confidential because it involves people, juveniles, or people under the age of majority. So it's a little bit difficult to, go on the radio and say, well, refer your children to us if they're not behaving. So, and unfortunately, because Sanford no longer participates, obviously we lost a position, and Dawn has been doing, I always say the lion's share of the work, but really the truth is all of the work. We've got some great volunteers that help Dawn. We utilize some services of volunteers that help with office stuff and that stuff.
And to go back to your question, John, Sanfordton is still being Sanfordton. They still
Yeah.
refuse to participate.
Do you still approach them?
Every year we send them a
Send them a letter. We don't get a response anymore, Joe.
Yeah.
The courtesy of the ANA. And in the police world, as you guys know, that's what I'm in. In the police world, I'm hearing that, and in the schools, I don't want to speak on behalf of the schools, but some of the school board members on our board are very frustrated and have had parents come to them and say, why can't we send our son to youth assistance? We don't want him to get a record, we want him to get some help. The peer association is sometimes helpful, and that stuff. And the school, it's very frustrating for them. If you're from Sanfordton, and I don't mean to point, and you're from Tilton, and you guys are in school and you get into a fight over a girl or something like that, you have no records. It's really a minor offense. Nobody's hurt. It's non-violent and that stuff. He can get referred to our program, but you can't. And it's frustrating for us because we spend a lot of years arguing, discussing with people in positions of authority, and I'm not casting any stones, and I'm not speaking for Don, I'm speaking for me as the chairman, trying to dispel rumors and trying to educate people that would not understand what the program did. And it's relatively frustrating. The program's obviously been in existence since 1975. It's an investment in our children and our communities. This young man will talk miles about any one of us, and our recidivism rate is less than the state recidivism rate, and every county, or every community, I think in most counties, have some type of juvenile diversion services. That's what it's there. My son's used it. You've heard me say it before. I have two boys. One of my sons has been in the program. So.
Yeah, I don't know if approaching on the town meeting, well, they have a SB too, so.
Yeah, they
actually
have an
getting-
18-month one, yeah.
We've
it'd
been
be
to
nice.
the budget committee meetings, and the dialogue from Sanfordton residents, let me just say, it was interesting. I think a lot of them felt, and I also tried to convince some of them, but they felt that when they created the program at Belknap County, that they didn't need youth assistance program. That's not a diversion program. And it's extremely important for some of these young kids not to get that record. A lot of people think, and a lot of them thought that, well, you're a juvenile, your record is sealed. But that isn't always the case. And one of those cases is the armed services. A juvenile record opens wide. And if you have an offense, you're not able to enter the armed services. So they're still operating under false pretenses over there.
Yes. And Tilton, in North Tilton, has presented some wonderful cases for you. I believe it was the 10th grade girls. The high school that you got called in on. There was some inappropriate social interactions going on that they utilized youth assistance program to kind of get things rolling because the vice principal was tearing what little hair he had left out of his head. during that whole situation, and they use this as a resource, an appropriate resource, and we're very, very happy that someone would come in and provide those services for them. If we can ever get the school to do some funding, it would be nice too, but that's another one down the road. Down the road, because you are providing more and more services for them, and they're not paying for those services, so. And there's been a good interface with Bill Patton, who's the school resource officer over there. If he has a problem, he's very comfortable calling Dawn and saying, how can we deal with the situation?
But I understand the reluctance. I see these kind of programs as a money-saving thing in the end for the people, for the community, but I could see people looking on a spreadsheet and saying, whoa, $31,000, you know, what are you asking for this year? What's your request this year?
It's $42,080.
$80. Yeah, that, I could see, you know, somebody saying, wow, $42,000, you know? Is it for the blind? Is it for the old? Is it for the health, you know? And I get why people would do that, you know, I understand that.
Yeah, and we put out, several years ago, we actually did a study, and we had an explanation page, which is now highly expired and probably on the super conservative side, about alternatives to this program, a replacement. For instance, the juvenile justice system, and the cost when you tie up a police prosecutor like Chris Paquette, or you tie up an officer at the court, the cost of transportation, and then obviously the cost to the state taxpayers through the state budget if you house somebody, some young person at YDC or whatever. And just even looking at only minor offenses, the cost, when you show them side by side, as you said, you know, some people look at that and say, but if you were to see side-by-side comparison, you'd say, you know, that's a minimal amount to what could be spent in using the regular system. Probably for me, the passion for this program has been giving young people another opportunity. Like Catherine just said, you know, the armed services, any serious felony level offenses, we in law enforcement can go into a juvenile record. With a certain motion in front of the court, we can bring that particular method up, and i.e. I'm talking about serious offenses like shootings and that stuff, which have been done in other states. But that ability to give somebody an opportunity to teach them that it's not us in the system, it's we're trying to raise you as children and make you good citizens. And really, Dick Smart was one of our founders, who the chapel at Tilton School is named after his dad, Fred. Right? Right. But Dick was very passionate. His wife ran a daycare service. I think Dick was 88 or 89 when he passed away. But Dick was very passionate in his program. And there was a significant cost savings when you do that, you know, side by side.
It's also interesting because if you take away the YAP, and the court has to refer to private providers for services, what happens is that cost then becomes triple and quadruple the amount. If I'm Justice Kelly and I have a child that needs anger management and needs drug and alcohol, I then have to go find a LADAP to do the drug and alcohol. They're going to charge anywhere from $75 to $125 an hour, 10 hours minimum. Anger management is another educational course, which is anywhere from $75 to $80 per session, educational session, and the state has to pick up the tab for that cost, whereas YAP, that's a free service. Once you provide the funding, they can come down and pick up those services from the court without having to pass the costs on to somebody else.
And you're doing it at a very different level than on a state in or behind a therapist's desk. They're doing it at a very comfortable level. You're doing it with community service. You're building confidence. You're building self-worth. You know, I've had the opportunity to work with Dawn in the past couple of years with community service. We're one of we are the town that offers community service. Nobody else offers that. We sat down with Judge Gordon to help write up some stringent criteria. Well, Dawn and I have partnershiped in supervising some community service from YAP. And you can see the difference in the kids and interaction with the kids. It's much, much better results than you get sitting behind a desk in a therapist's office saying, what did you do this week? And, how did you interact with that? It's so much difference on a one-to-one personal level that you can just sit and chat with somebody and build that confidence in them. And to have them come back a month or two later, or when we hear from this young man that it's worked in their lives, and this is how it's worked in their lives, it's worth every cent that the town has supported in that. It's worth it. We've seen young men come back, and women come back, and they still to this day come back and visit town hall to say, you've made a difference in our lives, just in the little community service. And Dawn's played a big part in that. I mean, it's huge, that one-to-one personal interaction that you're not paying $85 an hour for. It's very different.
And my question I would have is, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me like it gets the point across to the youth. You're in the system. You didn't just detention, you didn't, so you're in the system, get the point without being in the system. Is that,
And Dawn would explain.
You're at the next step.
Yeah, Dawn would explain that there's a contract that the young person signs that says, I have to complete X, Y, and Z, and if that's anger management or sitting down once a week with your parents and talking things over instead of, screaming at them, swearing at them, destroying the house or whatever. So that's huge, that's a huge part. I think we know that most of us, including myself, feel that, our system of corrections is about correcting people, but it's also about sending a message that you're paying a price for the consequences for what you did. And I'll use the tobacco law, for instance. In Merrimack County, we have a program that they can enroll in, and the courts order them to enroll in, instead of, the kids were going in and saying, well, we'll pay, minors in possession of alcohol, paying a $350 fine. They go in and pay the fine all day long. There's no consequences. There's nothing to say to them, geez, you know what, next Tuesday, I gotta go sweep Main Street Tilton with a bunch of other kids because, we decided we were underage and gonna have a beer party. Those are the things that I think our taxpayers and our residents appreciate, knowing that, and I'm sure Bill will tell you that how important it is to get the message, you know what I mean? And you just, you said it best, and I think that's important, and that's a big part of what Dawn's done, as well as forge relationships with some people who don't have any relationships.
If you're comfortable, Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I always ask if you're comfortable, like I said. What's YAP to you?
Well, what it is to me was, it was actually a way for me to, find myself, kind of, because I always would snap just over the littlest of things, and, my family's right over there with my dad and my brother, and, and they would, my brother takes TV, how brothers are, but I would go to the extreme about it, I would flip out, I would throw things and stuff like that. So, but youth assistance really, helped me calm down in certain situations, and I've kind of been able to, be a better person out of all of it. So, it's really important. Like he said earlier, the one-on-one communication is really important to me, and that's what I like most about it.
Well said.
Thank you for coming, I appreciate it. It's good.
How long have you been assisted with the youth assistance program? Year?
Yeah, about a year. I got into trouble. I'll tell you the full story. I got into a fight at school during the class, and the assistant principal pulled me to his office the next week and told me I had two options. It was 4 days in-school suspension or 10 days OSS, but the 4 days in school suspension came with anger management. So I was in track season and, and I had to pay the price for track. You had to do, an extra couple miles here and there, but, that'll come. But, just for me being an athletic guy, I wanted to keep doing it. So I was like, you know what, I should probably take these classes, I'll get all my work caught up, and I did. And then I wasn't so sure about going to, youth assistance, everybody knew, that I was going there. Of course I heard all the murmurs, saying, oh, Billy has anger issues, oh, he's gonna snap, oh, don't go get near him. I couldn't just ignore that stuff, so.
And you don't know, you could have been a person that has actual anger issues, or somebody who's borderline and their family doesn't understand, or the family's frustrated and they have no idea. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you're professional in that there are actual psychiatrists, psychologists in your group, but do you see yourselves as filters for red flag, we should bump this up higher, or, something along that line?
Frequently, because my background is social work and criminal justice. And so I have double majors, so I'm really doing exactly what I want to do, but I'm not a therapist. Okay, so, and we talk about that, that's made clear, and that there's some things where, there's many situations where they really do need someone who is trained in mental health, and that's different.
Hey, we've all gotten in trouble when we were kids.
That's right.
No, can't remember.
And Dawn's
We did never, did we?
And Dawn's really good. If there's an issue that she cannot handle, she'll find somebody that will. And it may come that she has to call the chief of police and say, we can't deal with this anymore. Or one of them, or call the local professionals, which are a few now. They're getting fewer in this area, but giving them a call and saying, listen, or talking to the family saying, listen, this is as far as I can go with this gentleman. We need to get this. And then the referral is made out. And then once those issues are addressed, the person then can come back into the group and continue on. And the other good piece about the contract is it goes back to Justice Kelly. So there's still the consequence that the individual still has to go before the court and justify to the justice that he or she have completed to the satisfaction of the contract. So if the Justice Kelly can say, no, go back and do that. So actually, we're giving objective data to the criminal justice system as where the status of where the individual is.
So do they have to do service in the community for anything?
Frequently. It is a part of all the juvenile diversion contracts. Sometimes it's ordered by the judge, so I sometimes work with young people who actually have even gotten perhaps in deeper, but then the judge sends them kind of signed so many hours. And that's what Pat was talking about. Some of the young people, perhaps a little older, I still might get a referral on them for community service. But most of my young people do, and we've done things right around here. We've done raking around here.
Well, Scott, you know where I work,
I do,
and if you need a spot,
absolutely.
so,
And there's a lot of great mentors where you work,
yes,
for a lot of young people.
yes.
Super, because we are always looking for
Don't take
sites.
away from it.
Hey, we're part of the town.
We still have painting to get done.
And bricks to fix.
That's a bill. You're to work in a few minutes, okay? You better
with
get out of here.
What's more work, right?
Well, this poor young man has not had dinner.
Yeah.
He came directly from wrestling?
Yeah, I've been nonstop for,
Well, I'll have a candy bar.
I can't afford it, trust me.
And then I guess you have
Gotta
to
Yeah, yeah. I gotta-
make weight. He
Yeah,
has to make
There
weight.
you go.
it's a hassle.
Well, thanks for coming down, and we really appreciate everything that you guys have done many years now.
Thank you for sharing, sir.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you for what you do.
Just let me know if you have any...
Sorry, we took you away from the country club.
You actually took me away from one of those. No, believe me.
What do you mean? You're going to be the executive counselor for the area? You and Mr. Boothby?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
I've seen him great. You know, just the mental It's confusing. His mother, back talking, pushing and shoving in school. He's a big anti-bullying kid now. He's accepting the kids and doing the right call. They're very proud. Big change after he spoke with her.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for coming down. Okay,
All right.
we're pretty close to being on time here.
That'll be a
And
first.
the next would be the Pines. See Jim and everybody's out there? Come on down. Can-
Welcome.
Welcome back.
Hi, Jim.
Good.
Good.
Well, you can come up if you'd like.
Yeah,
Just bring a
hey,
chair.
whoever wants, come on up,
Bring a chair.
squeeze in. Yeah. Thanksgiving, you know, practice crowding
Okay.
tables. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
I live my whole day with it.
Sneeze any minute, I can feel it coming on.
Excellent. Well, I think
Lost my thing yet.
we have a few new people here. We can go around and introduce ourselves. You can-
Derek Carter?
Wayne Brock?
I'm John Scanlon.
Jane Ollie.
Jane.
Hi, Jim.
John Bossy.
Catherine Bassett.
Brittany's been coming down here for, this is what, fourth year?
Behind you.
Fourth year. And Jim's third year? Third year.
Yes.
Sixth, seventh, going into seventh.
Yeah.
Take a breath. It's not that
Wow,
bad.
it's been fast. Well,
I apologize.
I think a lot of people are familiar with the Pines and everything, and they've got the financials. Maybe you can go over some of the things that have changed, like from last year to this year, bring us up to date, and how things are going with the, the building and the property and some of the programs.
Reiterate a lot of information. I'm trying to stay away from some of the stuff that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, if there are questions on that, I'd be more than happy to.
Sure.
One of the things that I'd like to do real quick is to update you on some of the numbers that, unfortunately for us, this is at the end of the third quarter, which is the 30th. So some of the things I'm going to say are going to sound a little strange. If you're looking at numbers from the end of September, and they certainly have changed since then. So I'll give you where we are at the end of November 15th. And if you want to update your bottom lines, that'll help me when I explain where we're going.
Okay.
And those two numbers, if you're looking at year-to-date incomes as of the 15th, we are currently at 256, 282. And our expenses as of the 15th, I'm sorry, is 247,022. So they've swapped quite a bit since the package that I sent you.
What was the expenses again? Or was that number?
Expenses on the 15th, 247,022. And one of the reasons I bring that up is obviously the numbers that you saw showed a significant deficit, but we can go day to day over there and they flip and flop, but one of those deals that, time sensitive information, and obviously I'll update you as we go, and year end, I will also send a year end, and then you'll really get to see exactly how we finished in 2013. But the way I anticipate it is we're going to close the gap to where we were last year, and we actually have a surplus of about $3,000, 2 to 3. But it doesn't change the fact of where our income numbers lie for 2014. And the reason the council proposed this budget for 2014 was the decrease in the amount of income that we're seeing in the revised communities. And there's a few reasons for that. Obviously, we have more people that are on scholarship or use our aid program and our assistance program. Our numbers are down in the amount of times that we're renting the facility. And the other thing that's a factor there, obviously, is our merchandise sales accounts are down. So what we did is we put a budget together that would reflect where our income, or where we anticipate our income to be in 2014. And when we came up with that final number of 265.5, you can see that's significantly different than where we're running in 2013. What that's going to mean for the Pines Community Center and the Tilton Northfield Recreation Council is about $16,000 worth of cuts to our expense side of the equation in 2014. The majority of that you're going to see come out of the program, and you're going to see a lot more of that amount of what we call our salaries or personnel line. It's basically where we have the ability, or it's not going to be a pleasant experience, but that's where we can cut when we need to. So that's what's going to happen there. In terms of where we're headed, we've asked both communities, both Northfield and Tilton, for the same amount, which we're required to do, and we came up with the amount that we asked for Northfield last year. And that's why you're seeing the 57.5, which is a $3,000 increase from what the town of Tilton gave us last year. And that's pretty much what's going on the financial picture. I'm a little bit concerned about the number of requests that we have gotten in 2013 for, it's good and bad. I mean, we're there for everybody, obviously, but at the rate that we're going, it's going to get more and more difficult to come up with the amount of money that we need to come up with to take care of our requests. So, just to give you a real quick example, and not to go on and on about all this, but almost a third of our participants that were in our summer program received assistance, whether it was full or partial. Those numbers are high. We're starting to see it in some of the other programs also. So with that trend, I've been working extra hard in the grant writing process. In fact, I just finished my 6th one in the last 2 months, 2.5 months. And all the grants I've been writing have been focused on the youth assistance program in the last 2 months. So if all goes according to plan, we're going to get about $11,500 by the end of the year. We just got a $2,500 grant, and I've got about 9 out. So we'll see how that goes. That'll finish our year at $24,000. We predicted 26. So we're going to be close. And that's pretty much the financial side. Questions on any of that?
Two things. First thing is I appreciate your prompt replies to the questions we asked around scholarships. Yeah, it's good information. You may want to explain to this budget committee how your budget system works, because it's a little different. You don't make the budget. Correct. I think that's where we're taking a look, that it's a process. Could you explain the process you go through to come up with this budget?
What ends up happening is there are 2 members of the council that sit on what we have as a budget committee, okay? And that's where it's really hammered out to start with. Then it goes before the full council, and then it goes to a vote. So, no, it is not my budget. Obviously, it's the council's budget, but I mean, I'm part of that process, obviously. It takes the whole council to come up with the budget.
This summer while I was doing my walking tour of the town, I came over to visit with you at the Pines, and I noticed there were several different projects you had going. One was painting a couple of the rooms, and others were transforming rooms into a group area, computer room, all that. How is that going at this point in time?
The room that we finished is the main room to the left of the kitchen, which is what we call the classroom. And the reason that we put so much time and emphasis into that is we're currently offering that space, along with use of the kitchen, the offices and bathrooms that go with it, as a rental. So so that's been listed, and we're waiting to see what's going to happen there. And that is, I guess, it's going to help us on the income side of the equation if we do income.
Where do you list something like that, Jim?
We have a realtor that actually put that on their site as just like any other commercial property for rent.
And that work was all done in-house, correct? By donations and by yourself or volunteers, correct?
Mostly, yes.
Yes, right.
We did have some professional help with the floor and as far as
You have corrected the issues that we talked about on the webpage. Webpage is up and functioning well
Yes,
at this point in time?
The website's up and functioning. It's, the format of it, it's pretty basic, but because you can register online, we do utilize our Facebook page a lot, actually much more frequently now. But we do have online registration for a majority of our programs. Yeah, there's the basic information essentially of all of our programs that we have.
I also noticed there's an application process for the programs that you have there, and is there an application program for scholarships, or does that have to be done in-house?
That is in-house right now. I do not believe that our, the application for assistance is actually online. That is in-house. The program registration forms are online, but yeah, the application for assistance is in-house.
And the schedule changes daily or monthly, or?
As far, like the...
Activities.
With the website?
Yeah.
It does have the basic information, like I said. When you do go on to register for programs, and you go to that, which is a separate site, it brings you to, and you can register. That has all the like, you can see what program, when the programs are running, et cetera. And then we do utilize, like I said, Facebook to give the most up-to-date program information that we have.
Okay. Do you have a feedback section to the webpage where people can give suggestions or provide feedback?
On the website,
Website or through Facebook?
Facebook, yeah, with Facebook, it gives an open-ended, people are able to comment on things, ask questions, send messages to the site so that we can, if they have a question about a program, or they have a question or a concern about a program, they're able to send a message to the community center, the page itself, which we can respond to, so.
And how's that going?
That's been actually going well. We do have people that have questions about stuff, and some people will post it right on the page. Some people will send a message and say, I have a concern about such and such, and here's my contact information. So we're able to, contact them in another format other than just Facebook.
How many employees do you have?
Are you looking at full, part-time?
Well, your salaries. Just your expenses, salaries.
I'll give you a total of probably 16 or 17. Includes full and part-time.
And then just as for numbers, it just seems like you have so many programs. Like I see the Little League field outside. Is that through Little League? Is that through you? Is that for the school?
The Little League is actually, it's Tilton Northfield Little League, and they run their own program.
Because that's why it's like, how can it only be 444? Where did you come with the number of residents, businesses who will access? Where'd you come up with 444? Just gross numbers, I don't need detailed breakdown,
The
but...
real short of how I come up with that number is I just take them individually and only count them once. Now, if I was to take Northfield and Tilton, add all the times they're in a program, they average 3.5 per person, and then add in everything else that goes on there in terms of special events like a dance, everything else, and then your walk-in, I would have given you a number around 10,000.
That's where it was like, it seems like you're selling yourself short. I mean, I'm looking at just the number of things you guys do for, it's like, man, Little League alone is probably 150 people right there, kids.
We're looking at it, if you really want to get right down to it, you're looking at about 1,000. In just those programs that you're looking at there without going into all the rest, because it confuses everybody when I put a number of 11.5 down. You have 11,500 people in your program, well, if I start multiplying them out and adding everything that goes on over there, you could see it that way as a total, but it's just kind of...
I think you said you had 16 employees. How many are full-time and how many are part-time?
They're only two-time.
Two full-timers?
You're looking at them.
The two, okay. and that position comes with a salary and benefits. The part-timers are salary only.
There's one part-time person that gets dental, and she pays for the dental on her own, as far as I know.
I think Pat has questions.
When you go with
Yeah.
maintenance and building, is it just the Pines Community Center is your only building that's on it?
That's
Or
correct.
maintenance, yeah. Because that's what I know of the Pines, and like, that's why it was, you guys were coming in as Northfield Recreational Council, and it's like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means, and then somebody said, oh, it's the Pines, and it's like, oh, all right, that catches on to what I was saying, what I was thinking, so. So what else do? You guys are the Pines, and I see just a list of, it's impressive how many things you do, different programs and things of that nature. Do you also work with the school itself? Do they have teams that are involved in this, or is it completely separate from the school system?
We utilize the schools, actually, obviously, we don't have a gymnasium, so some of our programs, especially basketball, we do run a volleyball program as well, which is indoors. We utilize the schools for those programs, so we have a good relationship with the schools as far as that goes. Their teams, obviously, they have, some of our sporting programs run through the 6th grade, which is obviously over at the middle school. So we'll get some of the kids that may not make the team. But, we don't obviously, want to offer choices and everything. But yeah, but that's how we utilize the schools. We utilize the gymnasium, the middle school, and Southwick School for our programs.
And Pat had a question.
I'm just curious, when you went over the financials, it sounds to me, and you can elaborate on this a little bit more, that you actually know going into the budget season that you're going to be at an $18,000 deficit on programs, and that you perhaps maybe have to cut programs, and you're sitting before the budget committee. I'm just wondering what your train of thought was and what the council's thought was, and not asking for more on that if you know ahead of time that you're going to be at the same place, only you're $18,000 shy of one of the same programs as you were last year.
The income is going to be down, that's why I'm anticipating. Okay, I'm not sure if that's going to happen in our program line, okay? Doesn't mean we're going to cut the program. It just means that the income, on the income side of the equation is going to be down. The program still goes, but we've got to cut our expenses. Okay, not the program, the expenses. Right.
Okay. So it's not really the program?
No, the
I
programs,
understood that. Okay.
no, the programs aren't going to get cut at all. And
So-
if they're running and they're successful.
And if you were able to obtain, if grants became available throughout the year that could subsidize some of that program expense, you could utilize it at that point as well.
Yes, and that's one of the nice things about it. The only problem is it's hard to know a year in advance when you're going to get them and when that money comes in. I just wrote one a couple weeks ago from WLNH. I'm not going to get that till the first week of March. It's a substantial amount of money. We wrote it for 15. So, when that comes in, that bails us out basically for the program. So, it's tough.
One kudos, I want to thank the Pine Center for the work you did during the Great Mold escapade at the middle school. You took kids in during the day, so parents could go to work, and provided supervised activities for middle school kids during that period of time until we figured out how to fix the problem, which we have not fixed, but we're still working on it. But I want to thank you, because it's a very civic thing to do when there's an emergency, to be able to do that. Second thing is, it sounds like you made it through the year without any major maintenance issues this year. And knock on wood, because we went through the boiler and the security system. Does that look like it's going to hold for at least the next budget cycle, or is there something that could?
Well, one of the things my last grant for 2013 is going to be written for the building itself, and it's going to be, we need another circulator pump for our second boiler, and we also need the same type of system for fire suppression stuff, and we've got something that's about to go according to our plumber on top of our hot water system, which is a big item, but I'm gonna write all that in a grant, and hopefully that takes care of that. Septic, we took care of that issue. That was a big one, but, you know, the building is 20 years old or so, and it's not getting any younger like the rest of this, but, you know, I got my fingers crossed, because a really large item, we don't budget for it. I don't have backup, I don't have any account set up where there's money there if something goes book. It's kind of scary that way.
Yeah, because we went through that last year with, it was the year before was the security system, because you were having some break-ins and whatever, and then last year, was it the air conditioning system or boiler?
We have boiler issues every year, but last year, the big issue was the septic.
Septic, good. At what capacity is the building being utilized at this point in time? Just rough.
Ooh, I never really figured that one out. Seriously, I mean, I peek out of the office every once in a while, see who's around, and then I look at the schedule, but Monday through Friday during the day, I would say it's probably the slowest time during the school year. Okay, obviously evenings, and then when the school's out, it's when we're at our max. The rest of the time's pretty well. Weekends are rentals, so.
Yeah.
but we're definitely not maxing the flood stuff. Was that building built for this, or was it renovated from something else? How did the pine start?
I can tell you that one.
That building was built for the time.
When, approximately?
71?
When?
And I'm really going to blow your mind because you know where you're sitting?
It used to be up here. It
It's
used
the
to be right
original
here
rec
where
center.
we're sitting.
What year was
It's on the website, it's a pretty good
It's
expo
at
on it.
several locations, and they went nonprofit and after the facility was built. The facility was built by the two towns, and then they became a nonprofit. But it had to have been late 60s, early 70s, wasn't it?
Right.
Oh, was it that long ago? I mean, that soon?
I think I remember it.
In the days when I was young, very young, they actually had a pool table over here, a ping pong table, and a Saturday night dance, and that was what the recreation was for the whole town. That was it with the rec council. In fact, the stage up here is where the student DJ played the records for the dance at that point in time. And I'll date you even older because they had the old rows of wooden chairs that you would take out and open them up and then close them back up at the end of the night. So yes, it's an interesting philosophy we've had around recreation in this town.
And the reason I asked, like you said, if, knock on wood, nothing, don't want to jinx you, but if something did happen, would that be, a town issue? What would happen?
No, it's a private nonprofit, but, the communities of Northfield and Tilton, the citizens, over and over again have showed, even the town of Tilton, how much they support that facility. And I think, if something were to happen, I would suspect you'd see builders and contractors coming out of the woodwork too, because most people think of it as their facility.
Right. It provides us a service to the community, which is the emergency part of it. I mean, just for that week or so when the middle school was shut down, parents were tearing their hair out to figure out how to do daycare. Guess what happened? The rec center became daycare. Not supposed to, but it did, and it provided the service for that community. And that garnered a lot of support from the community that would happen.
Another thing that I found out along those same lines just a couple of years ago is we're actually a shelter for the town of Northfield. Which I didn't know when I was hired. So, that facility needs to obviously maintain its
Viability.
just for that reason.
Now, you do have some outdoor activities that go on from the rec center, I believe, and do you access the school fields in order to do some of those activities?
Yes.
Soccer, I think it's soccer and field hockey or something like?
Yeah, we do the soccer, we do the field hockey. We occasionally will utilize the ball field if we need to. But yeah, the school fields, we do for both of those programs, and we've used actually the middle school field as well. They've allowed us to do that. We had a jamboree, so.
You use Tilton's skating rink, right?
Yes, yep, the Tilton School rink, yep.
Yeah.
We use the Tilton School rink.
And those programs are open to anyone, whether they're handicapped, not handicapped, that you will adapt that service for them to get that recreation and that sport
Absolutely.
experience?
Yep, absolutely.
I think another thing they do that you offer, and I found this out in the last year, I'm on 2 boards and we meet there. And I know on one of them, we're probably the only reason you stay open late, so. And, you know, that, we really appreciate that.
How's that van doing?
And good.
Is it?
Runs really well.
Is it? Wow.
It really, yeah, no, it really does. I was driving it around today, actually, for a couple of
How old is that now?
I think it might, is it a 2003 maybe? I can't remember exactly.
Well, that's good. That's a big expense. You guys really have been keeping that thing going, taking care of it. So that's, and the roof is, we've always had trouble. We did, what's up with the roof?
Well,
Thought they fixed that.
I don't know, a year and a half ago, we got a new roof.
Yeah.
We haven't had to worry about the trash can brigade since.
Shoveling,
So,
well, shoveling if we need to, but
Yeah, we'll still have to get up there and shovel.
shovel,
it,
but not if there's this much
It's
snow,
dry.
at least, you know.
That's great. Anything else, Selectman?
I just have one
Go
question.
ahead, Chief.
I noticed you have openings for your after-school and your before-school. Isn't that something new? Isn't that been filled in the last few years?
It has, and actually, the morning care, we had a couple spots recently open up, and I think that's why we've had that. And actually, we've just in past week have, in the after-school program, have filled, we had 4 spots open, so there weren't many spots, and actually, we just filled, I want to say, 2 or 3 of the 4 in the afternoons. In the mornings, we had a couple open up, so.
And the other question I had, and I saw those 2 things, I know that's very valuable for a lot of people in the town. Are there any grants available where you can get a subsidy to help out?
There are, and in fact, I just wrote one for that purpose, the before and after school program, so I will find out.
I would think there would even be federal grants available for that. That's all.
Not so much a question as a statement. A couple years ago, I was very loud in my disdain for the Pines. But since that time, I've gotten more involved with seeing what they do and their response to the concerns that I raised, and not just me, but others as well. I look at youth assistance program, I look at the drug and alcohol numbers for this area, and if we don't put our money into the Pines, we end up putting it into the county jails, we end up putting it into youth assistance, and the broken lives just keep on costing us all the way down the line. If anything, I would like to see more money go to the Pines so they can expand these programs, take more kids in the summer, and give them something positive to do and good values. As loud as I was in my disdain for the Pines, I am every bit as loud in my support now.
I think one of the other questions that came up was how to include some of the older kids, I think, in the previous years. How is that? I know that's tough because they...
It is tough. It's a tough group to reach. We obviously have our teen program, our skating program. We actually do have quite a large population of teens that utilize that program on Sunday evenings. It's a free skate,
skating,
obviously.
yeah.
Our snowboard program, we have the karate, we have the archery, archery's actually been another program that seems to draw some of that age group in. And something that I've been actually looking into and actually trying to get set up for the new year is at least one or two trips a month that we'll offer for that age group, middle school, high school, where we utilize our van, and we make trips to, we have a lot of things in this area and around. I mean, gunstock in the winter, there's tubing, there's skiing if necessary, and stuff like that, things that they like to do. Obviously, we can only accommodate a certain number of kids, but if we can at least get that many, and if we can start once a month, then move it to twice a month, that's something that still in the works, but something that I'm trying to do. That's another thing. But I mean, even our teen camp, and CIT programs, those have been excellent programs. Group.
It's a tough one to...
It is. It's a tough group to reach, so you've got to really put your thinking cap on to kind of come up with things that they're going to like to do. I mean, the dances, which obviously is teens, they're middle school kids, they're very well, attended, so, and that's good, but, there are other things out there that they like to do, so it's just kind of finding them. And
It's very nice to see things are expanding in programs. Also, that you took a look at the areas that we had concerns about last year and have made major corrections in those issues, which is wonderful to see. That the grants are being written, the issues are down, where that we can now look at programming instead of boilers and roofs and all that stuff, and the inclusion of more of the client services, and the expansion of, and you're right, the bittersweet pill of the expansion of scholarships, which is wonderful for the town people, but on your budget, it's going to drive you crazy for a while. But it was nice to see that, and I also applaud you for the communication. Every time I've asked a question, you've had a great answer. You've had a very prompt answer, and I appreciate that.
You talked about for the older kids, and I was sitting there going, oh yeah, high school kids, and then you ended it by the middle school kids. So are you looking to attract
that
16, 18, 17-year-old?
That program is...
I want to be an adult, but I'm not yet.
Yes, and that program is, the program that I'm, like I said, it's kind of in the works right now, and I'm looking to find someone to run it and stuff. That would obviously include the high school kids. And with the teen camp and then the CIT program, that is, we do have high school students that are participating in those programs. That is, it's such a difficult age group to reach because a lot of them have jobs, or they're doing a varsity sport full-time, or they have responsibilities at home, so they're unable to participate in a lot of things. So it's such a really difficult group to reach. But, we did a survey. We found some interesting answers from the schools as far as what high school students would like to do. I won't, but some of which I really can't turn into programs, unfortunately, because, but we are doing our best to try to find things that will work, and like I said, the teen program in the summer and then the CIT program are really strong programs for that, specifically high school age group, because I think that of the two, obviously middle school, it's a little bit easier for us, but the high school, it's just such a hard age group because they're busy doing so many different things and they're being pulled in all these different directions, and it's finding something that they're going to be able to do. And but the program, like I said, that I was speaking of is something that would be including that age group. It's just the dance part aspect is just the most. But
I admire you. I took some teams to Maine a day, and that won't happen again.
It's not, yeah.
One of the things, just a suggestion, I don't know if you looked into it, but is I can remember trying to get my children involved, enrolled into driver education. And I don't know if that's something that you guys could work into, because then you're going to get the...
There's liability, I would think, involved in that.
Sure, but they're booked solid. You cannot, if you don't sign up, you miss out, and then the parents have to teach them. But that might be something where you have the space, maybe somebody lease it out or team up with somebody, and that will get the older kids on there, because it's their prime thing. I want my car,
Absolutely.
I want my license.
My freedom.
And
I just remember.
Just don't let them drive the van.
The town I grew up in, the auto school that everyone went to, they contract with the community center to teach the class in the community center. So, I mean, not saying you guys should teach it, but maybe subcontract with an auto school and charge them a flat fee to do that, and they just get the people there, but it gets people in your door, and it gets people to read what you have going on, and might reach out to do that.
Yeah, and we know that you're building a foundation. And we just offer the ideas for the foundation. They may work out, they may not. We don't have all the answers, but as we're looking at the recreational program, we're looking at creating that foundation so that we can then build even better programs from that. And you may not be able to get to the 15-year-olds this year, okay? Other than offer them that horticultural class that they really want to take, but you know what's going to happen. But at least you're creating the foundation for that to occur, so down the road, you can put that brick into that foundation.
Anybody else? Anything? Thanks, everybody, for showing up, coming down for this. Good luck with the next year, and hopefully you get some funds, some more revenues coming in. It always helps, doesn't it?
Well, if you think of anything later on, whatever, feel free to email me, call me, stop in the office and
Wander over.
I'll be happy to help. And when I get some updated numbers near the end of the year, I'm sure that's something.
Yeah, if you could, the updated sheet when you get a chance.
Like I said earlier, 3 months.
If you send them to Joanna, she'll make sure that everyone gets them.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
I see the karate class, and I think Kramer from Seinfeld, be that one guy in the karate class. It'd be little 10-year-old kids.
Okay, the next thing we had, other business, and there were some questions about recycling, how we were doing with it, that came up. Tim didn't have the numbers as yet on that, but
Asked Tim specifically for the numbers because he's been tracking it. Our MSW is down, our recycling is up. We have a ghost tonnage, which is not accounted for by those figures. Because people, let's just say me, I decide I'm going to do something else with my garbage. Or I'm now composting. So you don't see it. You know what I mean? There are other strategies for disposing of the MSW. There is concern, again, I don't have the final exact figures, but there's concern that at the rate that we charge for the bags, that it's not going, the revenue stream is delayed enough because they have inventory and we haven't got the money yet. That the $45,000 that we received last year, where we're good through March, for a fact, may or may not keep up with the $87,000 that we have as part of our contract with Best Way to pick up recyclables curbside. We didn't reduce the line item for MSW on the budget, except for by 10%, because let's just say, come March, we don't have a recycling program at the curb anymore. It could happen. If we don't have money in that line to account for that, then we've got a huge shortfall. If we knock 35% out of that line over last year, and the voters decide that they don't want to do this anymore, where do we get the money? Go ahead.
So would that number then at the town meeting be reduced to zero?
It'll never be reduced to zero, but...
Or to $1?
What are you talking about?
Well, you're saying you're budgeting for both ways into
Well, you have curbside trash garbage pickup.
Yes.
And then you have curbside recycling pickup. So if the curbside recycling goes away, then you still have to pick up that garbage as
the other
Sure.
trash. It's going to
Sure.
be
Yeah, that's a separate issue. Regular garbage pickup is completely separate from
Yes,
recycling.
I understand how that works. I lost you on with the numbers that you were saying right before that you're still budgeting for.
Oh, for the MSW.
Just in case
We spend a
it's-
certain amount of money at the Pennacook incinerator based on a certain amount per ton. We've reduced that amount from last year by 10%. Even though if we would recycle for the entire year, it might be 25 or 30% reduction. If in March, the voters decide they don't want to go with curbside recycling again, even though we're experiencing that MSW drop, could go right back up because we're not going to be picking up recyclables at the curb anymore.
And if we've reduced it by 25%, an expected 25%, now we have a shortfall of 15%.
And so we have to budget for it this time. If we get by town meeting and recycling is still in effect in Tilton, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to then start to reduce that MSW line. I've had discussions with Best Way. Now, this is in no way a legal thing, or we haven't entered into serious discussions yet, but Best Way seems to think that if our numbers continue in the direction they're going, that they'll be able to pick up one time in Tilton and get all of the MSW, regular trash, in one day. And would be, if they were to find that to be true, they would be willing to renegotiate our MSW contract, which currently stands at, I believe, $111,000 a year. If they're only picking up one time instead of two, we could see significant savings on that line as well. But until it
Picking up the same
happens,
amount of
it
garbage.
hasn't happened.
We need more data.
We need more data, we just
Right, we're still
started,
picking
so
up
we
the
need
same
to
amount of
have more
garbage.
figures.
Just doing it in 2 days, well, 1 day instead of
So
2.
that I can present something intelligent.
I mean, what are you gonna say,
I can go
a day's worth of
downstairs and
trucking?
ask Tim what the figures are right here, right
Well,
now,
I think we
today.
can address it in,
Recycle bin out.
2 weeks.
It's gonna come by
But I still am concerned if we're going to present that we only have a 10%, even though what you're saying, you're just being safe. But
the week that we recycle.
at the same time, if they can, you're saying if they can knock out the recycling at the town meeting, at the same time, if they knock it out, so you could raise up the cost of the other. I just don't understand budgeting for both.
All right, let's just use a figure of $100,000. That's not what it is. but
That's for the weight.
We have $100,000 worth of garbage last year that
Cost
we
is
poured
the
down at the
garbage.
incinerator. This year, we're asking for $90,000. Okay?
4 days, because it's...
We might only spend
Probably only a couple grand.
75 or 70
Because it's still the
But-
same garbage.
if we recycle all through next year. But if come March, the voters decide they don't want curbside pickup and pay-as-you-throw anymore, then the MSW, even though, it was going way down, is going to go back up again. And if our number is down, then where does that money come from if we don't budget for it?
Yeah. So you're also going to be able to transfer money if curbside, and hopefully it will not, but if the curbside recycling was stopped, you'd be able to take the money from that line item to adjust.
And put it in, any
The
money's left
curbside.
in that line, in that account, by warrant article, would go to the municipal solid waste budget.
But John's right. John is absolutely right. If you come to town meeting and that there's action taken by a warrant article or other action, that the budget committee can, or anybody at that point, can amend the final budget to accommodate for that as well. So yes, you can do both. You can do it either way. It's a gamble at town meeting. It's not a gamble putting it in the budget.
We'll have to make, when we get to town meeting, we'll be prepared.
We'll get the numbers. Yeah, 'cause
We'll have
it-
6 months worth of data instead of 2 months.
Right, at that point, you're going to have a lot more data to really know what you got behind you.
Petition warrant articles have to be in by the first week of February, so we'll know what's going on that end.
Right.
We'll have better figures by then, truer figures, so, yeah.
Is there any kind of timeline around what kind of data we're going to get about the sales of the bags? Sales of the bags.
Data.
the sale of the bags? Because
We
you,
have some data right now. I can walk right downstairs and get it from Tim.
no, not right now, but if, like, next meeting or a couple of weeks when you're presenting it,
December 2nd, we have a recycle meeting downstairs at 11 a.m. on the 2nd. And Tim and Scott Davis and Marge Bonneville and myself and Rue Midby, we're all going to pour over these figures. I will transmit to all of you the results of that.
right, because I'm just curious, we've outlaid so much, we've outlaid the $45,000 for the bags. If that fund has been replenished, or is it empty at this point?
It's being replenished. The $45,000 was to buy the initial bags.
Right.
And to give us a buffer between when the money came in from the sale of the bags so that we could pay the $87,000, which is on no line item. That's what, those bags are supposed to pay that 87 grand. The 45,000 gave us a start on that program.
Right.
So far, the money hasn't caught up, but that's what the 45,000 was for.
I'm just looking at the
Is it still stocked
45,000
out there?
to see if that money has started to replace itself.
I buy the
It's starting, but it's not going fast enough at this particular point.
sometimes
Okay.
4 bags.
The reasons why I can't explain to you intelligently.
Paid $1.50 for the
Some
bag.
vendors aren't
I'm still
paying,
roughly throwing away the same.
there's issues,
garbage,
but
maybe a little bit less.
we're trying to
They worked on
resolve
them,
them.
yeah.
Just had a question.
do I.
Are we seeing an increase in illegal dumping at all, where,
3 weeks worth.
Catherine,
But the trash cop,
are we seeing an increase in illegal dumping where we're taking up your resources, possibly the highway department resources, to remove this and increase?
Not yet. I haven't had well, I've had a couple of reports of trash on Range Road and Pest House Road, but it wasn't from people throwing their garbage out. It was littering, but not, somebody tossed a bag of garbage out. I have intervened in people who, let's just say, they said they didn't understand the recycling program.
Very diplomatic.
They do now.
Very diplomatic.
it isn't significant, but it does exist.
But so far, I have not found people throwing trash on the side of the road on some of our, like I said, Pest House and Range Road, some of our more remote roads, our Class 6 roads. I have not found that yet. It has been reported to me.
So when you were talking about the sale of the bags generating itself to reorder more bags, wouldn't it seemed to me when we were first talking about this whole program, it seems like the sale of the bags would actually create revenue.
No. Well, it wasn't designed to create revenue. It was designed to generate enough money to pay that $87,000. The program was initially set, if the bags were $2 a bag, then we would generate this much money, and that would pay, and there would be a little extra, but that would go toward the MSW line. Well, we reduced to make it more affordable, or the most affordable we could, and still get that $87,000. We reduced the bag price from $2 to $1.50 per bag, or $1 for the small ones. That's, the money's lagging. Like I say, I don't have enough data to really give you the answers that we're all looking for. I wish I could tell you everything's rosy.
What was the percentage of recycling that had to take place for the bags to pay for the program? Was it 37% of the town had to recycle? What was the percentage?
Good.
There's a formula that was used like that, so in
Yeah.
other words, we had
I
to
have the, I
Well, it
have the,
just seemed,
percentage
yeah,
of
it
recycling.
just seemed when we
So
were
there would
talking
be a-
I think it's
about it.
27 or 28, Catherine.
So let's say you had 50%. Well, then, yeah, now you're going to start showing a profit.
Yeah.
But it wasn't designed to be profit-making. It does bring in revenue, but it's supposed to be
It just seemed
nonprofit.
like a plastic bag, which would cost the company that makes them fraction of a penny to make. Let's
It
call
cost
it
us
5 cents.
19 cents apiece.
Yeah.
But
We saw-
that money goes directly to the $87,000. It's not like the town's getting rich here. Right now, we're worried about not having enough money to, you know what I
Well,
mean?
wouldn't that be counterproductive? Because if you're recycling more, you're going to have fewer trash bag sales.
Take that into account.
I mean, 87, I mean, in a sense, you have to sell 87,000 trash bags. I mean, if we have 3,000 residents
And
here,
22
Do you know how much
Pounds a bag.
MSW? They,
22 pounds a bag.
22 pounds a bag.
What's that mean?
We generate
Of trash.
approximately 14 tons of residential garbage in the town of Tilton.
Right, but you're saying the sale of the bags. The bags cost $1. That's 80.
Small bag.
Small
Well,
bag.
I'm just, this is use simple
Yeah.
math. So it's 87,000 bags that we have to sell, which if you, I mean, that's like 3,000 bags per resident that we have to, I mean, that's a,
How
yes.
many residents do you think we have? 3,000 bags a resident?
3,598, I think.
Yep.
Residents.
3,600 is around the figure.
3,600 residents,
Okay, but,
1,400 households.
okay, let's go 1,400 households. Let's just make it simple math. If we have 1,000 households, you have to sell 87 bags a year to each household. I don't know.
At $1 a bag, but they're $1.50 a bag. so
Well,
it's
some,
not
I mean-
a third of
52
that.
weeks, it's $1 a week, you
Yeah,
know,
it
bag and a
just
half a
seems-
week.
And the bag
we're getting
contains 22
52
pounds,
weeks,
so
I
87
believe,
times
Eric.
22 pounds.
Well, I have weeks I don't have trash now.
Okay.
You have to remember, it's all based on percentages and
Yeah.
suppositions and ifs and whats, so.
I guess we
tough
just
to
have
get
to
a-
wait for the data.
Hard-fast figures, you have to have enough time to go by, and it's gotta be at least 6 months, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, a whole year's worth. would
I think a
really give
year's
you
worth would
true
really give you a
Picture
true-
of what's going on.
The one thing that I can positively report is that the garbage that we bring down to Pennacook is decreasing significantly. We're not burning it up, putting it in the atmosphere. People are, and the feedback I've got, other than I don't like to buy the bags, I don't like buying the bags. But we're not burning it up, we're not burying it, and people are recycling. And they're starting to find out that it's not that hard, and their
Yeah.
garbage is reduced significantly. So we'll see how it plays out come town meeting, and I'll have better information for you
See what happens at
after the
Christmas.
2nd of December. And I'll get that stuff to you. I'm scared we won't have enough money at $1.50 a bag, but we'll see how it plays out. That's all I can do. We're doing the right thing, I think.
Yeah, I think
Trash
it's
bags
starting to
rush
become
at
routine
Christmas
for a
time.
lot of people too, so they're.
It's starting to,
I
but
don't
if
know,
you
this
take
just-
away the curbside, it won't be routine anymore, because now you got to bring it to the, and
Well,
people,
not so much take away, but maybe if they can, like you said, combine it to one day to do the
That
whole
would-
town.
if they combine it to one day, we're going to be paying basically the same amount for our trash pickup, recycling, and MSW, maybe a little more, but our MSW line will be way down. At that point, maybe we do away with the pay-as-you-throw. But there's only one problem with that. If I have to pay to get rid of my
Yeah.
MSW, I'm going to recycle like a mother. But if I don't have to, where's the incentive?
Whatever,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm the same
So we'll
way.
see how it goes.
Mr.
You still
Chairman,
have a lot of confusion with
Just don't have to
people
wash it, I'll
putting,
use it.
I still see recycle buckets out every week.
Are we going to vote on the other?
I think you're always
yeah,
going to have that.
I would like to make a motion. Will you make a motion, sir, if you'd like?
They're getting better and better.
Which
Yeah,
ones?
It's not the same.
Recreation Council, would you like to do the Pines, sir?
What's that?
The Pines?
Well, youth assistance and the Pines, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to vote on those.
Yeah. Which one would you
Which
like to
one?
take first?
Youth assistance.
Okay. The motion is being made by this gentleman, I will second it, sir.
Okay,
To fund the youth
Motion.
assistance program at $41,612, as requested.
I'd like to correct that and make it $42,080.
Three something, wouldn't it?
$42,080.
Oh, 42,000, again, I haven't got my glasses on and I'm getting older, thank you.
Yes, you are.
I take that back.
okay, so Wayne's made a motion to fund the,
No, John made the motion.
No, John made it.
John made the
John made
motion,
a motion.
to fund it at
Second.
$42,080. Wayne seconded the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm recusing myself from voting among the directors. Board of directors.
Okay, so moved.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the Recreation Council's request for $57,500.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to fund the Recreation Council at
57.5.
the amount they
57.5.
requested, 57.5. Any discussion on that?
I'd like to make a motion to increase it above what they're asking.
You can amend
So you would like to amend the amount of
57,500.
57,500 to what amount?
Increase it by 15,000.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to increase the, we do not have a second yet. To increase the 57.5 to
72.
Yep, 72.5.
72.5.
5.
I think it's a very important program, and I think any program that helps kids get off the PlayStation and smartphones and gets kids playing outside and community activities is something very, very valuable, and I hate to see an organization like that almost seem like they're struggling on a day-to-day basis to make ends meet.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it for discussion purposes.
And we have a second for discussion purposes. Okay, discussion on that?
My opinion on it, if you would like my opinion on it, it'd be tough to give them that big of a percentage of what they're asking for.
And I feel the same way.
I applaud your motion and your reasons for it, but
I'm sitting here thinking that, okay, it's a program that typically we look to Northfield to fund 50% of them, and we fund 50% of them. So,
I also,
That comes to my mind.
I think rather, and this is just my opinion again, I would like to see them bring on another staff member. I think they're suffering because they don't have another full-time staff member.
I don't think they have the money to pay a staff member.
no, they don't.
No, they don't. So,
I mean, the sense tonight was that they're going to have to decrease staff hours or decrease staff too.
but they've got an awful lot of part-times. But I think they do need people with, I think Brandy has the expertise to expand her role. But I don't think she has the time.
But
So what would they need to add another person? I'm not sure even what the salaries are. Just by increasing it by 15,000, I'm not sure that'll solve the problem.
unless Northfield increases by
Unless
15,
Northfield
Yeah.
you're not going to get, I mean, to get someone well-qualified, you're going to have to come up with $30,000 in additional salary there. My other concern there is that they're talking about 1/3 of their people receiving scholarship, but we have 18 families, according to this email, that were given assistance of only $4,050. And that
doesn't jive.
it doesn't, if they're saying that, and I think I think he was before the selectmen in August, and he was talking about half of the participants were on some type of scholarship fund, but that's not jiving with what I'm seeing in an email from him to this board.
To Wayne.
To Wayne. And that concerns me, and the grant money that he's writing,
But at the time he was talking to the selectmen, he may have been talking about Northfield and Tilton residents. And in Wayne's email, I haven't seen it yet, but it may have been just talking about Tilton residents.
it is, but it's only 18 families, and it's $4,000. It's just,
I think there are a lot more grants that he could go after that would provide a lot more money. I say that as somebody who does grant writing for seniors. And I would say 9 out of the 10 places we go to look to write grants, they're giving grants for children as opposed to the elderly. So I think he needs to open up his window.
you volunteering to help him? No.
I did. I did volunteer to help him.
Did he take you up on it?
No, you never heard a word.
And
That was last year and the year before
well,
that.
I've volunteered, that's why I only asked, because I've volunteered to help him with other things, and I've never heard a word from him. And
I know there are a lot of government grants specifically geared to youth. I know all of Cole's grants, and we've been told this, are geared completely to youth. But I don't see enough of really looking. He has one big grant that he's requesting. I'd like to see, I don't know who, I mean, Eric, you and I could go over and help do it, I don't know, but we need to open up that grant window, I think.
My other concern is, I mean, my wife runs a Girl Scout troop, and they normally met there on Wednesday nights, and when she went to go renew this summer, she was told that they're not going to be open for her. And so she had to find another place to have the kids meet.
But I think it's important to separate the gym from the rec council. Some of these decisions may not be his choice or his decision to make.
I tend to disagree with that.
Can I finish my opinion?
Yeah. Sorry, sorry.
We'll go around the table, make sure
Well, I
everybody
would
gets
like
heard from. So Wayne will finish, and then we'll hit everybody.
We don't know their process of writing grants. He may have that permission, he may not have that permission. So we sat here and we are looking at something that we don't have the full information about. We can assume that he does. We can assume of a lot of things, but we don't know that to be true. What we do know we know that's true is when he came here with a presentation, he has said that he's been writing grants. Now, the process after that, does those grants have to be approved by the Recreational Council to be sent out? Or does he just have carte blanche to do that? That information we do not know.
I do know that he said at one meeting here, and I believe it was last year, I do all the grant writing. That's what I do all
Can
day.
I interject here? I want to make sure that we stay on subject. How would the increase affect what you're discussing? So when I'm going to keep it to the table because we're in the middle of the motion.
Good point.
But
Well
make
taken.
sure we say, what was the amount, 15?
Yes.
How will that 15,000 affect all the points that everybody's bringing up? Anybody else not get heard from?
I have a suggestion, just in that you're giving suggestions on how they should make things better. That's not, I don't think, what should be part of this discussion. What we should be discussing is whether or not we vote for them getting what they ask for. And I appreciate your reason for wanting to add to it, but I think everybody at this room, everybody at this table needs to realize we're a small town. And we can't just throw money around. We can't just add to more than what they want. Now, do they need to be creative to do what they need to do, and could you help them? Good for them, great. And I'm glad that our town has enough money and has enough resources to give a lot of, I couldn't believe the number of programs that they have. I'm proud of them to be able to do what they do with the money that they have. But we need to realize we're going to try and, you're thinking about adding $15,000 to a town that only has 1,500 households. We have to always, in this group, always think about we're a small town.
I think we just want to make one comment. Make sure everybody's heard
And I appreciate your reason for it. I don't,
The one thing, my only thought was, in the past, we've always cut back on the pines significantly, and the thought was that they should be self-sufficient. I know they'll be very happy with giving us the full thing, and it's difficult for me to increase by 15,000 without a business plan in front of us, what they'd spend that on. And I think they've done a great job and turned things around, and just giving them what they're asked for, I'm sure they will be completely thrilled, because
Have they been cut every year?
Yep.
every year they've been cut, I believe, by almost, I think, like $20,000 off of what they asked for, and they've gone to town meeting and had a great showing of people that show up and voted up.
And that just happened this past year, too,
But it
right?
only
Yes.
went up to 50,000, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. 52 from,
So they're
then they wanted
55.
55, so we had cut back. So this year, we're giving them the same up, but,
That's great.
That
I
was
mean, I
just-
don't have all
yeah.
that back history.
yeah.
I'm just basing it off what I heard and saw tonight, and, I hate to see an organization that has to rely solely on grant after grant after grant after grant, to survive. So that's basically where I was coming from.
Sure.
So, I think it's an important community thing. I don't think, I personally don't think kids play enough outside and do stuff that doesn't involve electronics. I mean, I remember as a kid going to the YMCA and doing archery and BB guns and all sorts of other things, and kids don't play outside much anymore, so.
Hopefully this will all encourage them, and just our thoughts that they, anybody else, the team will have any more comments on it? So we have a motion, a second, to amend the original motion to be increased to 72.5. So I'm going to call the vote, and this is to amend the motion, and that would be to fund them at 72.5. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, so we're back at, that motion did not pass, the motion to amend. So we're back at the original motion to fund the Tilton Northfield Recreation Council for $57,500. Any more discussion on that? No more discussion, we'll call the vote. Is all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. It was one of the quickest, easiest rec council, and I think if they're watching this, I hope they do, they'll see that they're gaining some support and that they've done a good job.
And maybe they'll take the hint that they'll come in a little higher next year if they need to.
I'm telling you, the driver's ed, the line, try and get your kids into driver's ed is huge, and there's good money in that. And maybe Brittany will let them use her car to do the driver's ed.
I think that's a really good idea.
Or Jim.
Be a big moneymaker.
But not the van, because we got to pay for that.
I was thinking with cars and insurance and stuff like that. That can
I
be-
think there's a lot of liability.
They got till February to get that thing running.
We voted on New Beginnings, right?
Yeah.
And that was oh, no wonder I wrote it on this sheet, okay.
Well, that's one of the things, because I wrote, I
On
thought
two
one of
sheets.
them we did, and I have two
Waiting for
sheets also.
information from Winnie Transit.
Yes.
The only one is Red Cross is coming in, and
Genesis.
In our no meeting next week, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And we'll be back on the,
December
what's the date?
4th,
You're going to show up.
December 4th.
yeah, I'll walk in here, wonder.
Catherine, were you able to find anything out about the disability life insurance with PD? Why it was so much over budget?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was
Okay,
more
couple
concerned- I was more concerned about the highway departments.
Right.
Which was,
Oh, that was the other question. Did we find out why there was that expense?
yes, they had a repair at Donovan Springs, one of the trucks. They replaced some suspension.
And Pat's working on contracts, and
Working on contract negotiations with the currently, I will give you a heads up that we do have a lieutenant retired at the end of December,
is that name released yet?
Dickie Paulus.
It is now.
It's public. And the other thing I'll give you a heads up with is when
Officers
we're
suspended.
finalizing the budget, we did get numbers for our health insurance and
Was it in the newspaper?
disability.
No.
Yeah.
I guess it's called administrative leave. And it's gone up 7.8%. Last week, we made a motion to ask the employees to contribute 12% to their health insurance.
You know, I know a lot of the businesses in the private sector have come up with some creative ways by contributing into people's what do they call it, cafeteria plan or something like that, and increase the deductions and all those creative things. I don't know if you've had assistance with that.
We've looked at different plans, and we've met with we've gone over the plans, and we've
Ways.
chosen the best plans.
And different go-arounds that help the town and the employee at the same time.
Exactly, and so we're trying to save the most money.
Is the town going to get anything back from the municipal association for?
12%.
And the other thing was, I had been informed by my employer that
An appeal.
that they now have to pay a tax on the benefit. And I mentioned that last week, and we might have to put that into the, so we will have to have a line for that in the budget?
No, it's built in. It's built into that 7.9%. It's 1.8% of it, of that 7.9, but it's built into the total amount. It's not a separate line.
Okay.
If there's no other business, sir, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. We got a lot done.
Last year, she makes the budget.
That was good.
We got all that.
They
Sir?
don't have those.
I think so.
They, in the afternoon,